All right, everybody, I'm Logan Alec, and this is my stimulus update for Tuesday, June 16th. First thing I want to talk about is this Explore America tax credit. I have talked about it once before here on the channel, but this travel tax credit, or this supposed travel tax credit, is making headlines again, so I want to bring it up and give you some updates, okay? What is this Explore America tax credit? Well, it's supposedly, and I'll tell you why I say supposedly in a minute, but it would supposedly be a tax credit of a maximum of $4,000 that would be calculated as equal to 50 cents on the dollar for every dollar you spend on domestic travel throughout the end of 2021. Okay, so if you spend $8,000 on domestic travel, you would qualify for the full $4,000 tax credit. You spend $2,000 on travel, you qualify for a $1,000 tax credit. I say supposedly because we haven't seen a bill yet. Okay, a lot of the details that you might have read about this tax credit, they haven't come from the actual text of a bill that has been introduced to Congress yet. They come from this document right here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is the U.S. Travel Association's legislative priorities to protect public health and revive the economy. This is basically the wish list of a lobbying group that represents the travel industry, and obviously something they would love is for the government to subsidize 50 cents on the dollar of Americans' domestic travel plans, right? So you might see details about, what would be covered, what wouldn't be covered. That's all coming from this, folks, okay? We haven't seen a bill yet. When a bill comes out, I will talk about it here on the channel, okay? Now, what are my general sentiments on this supposed tax credit? Honestly, I think a more immediate congressional priority should be making sure that everybody in America has enough food to eat and a roof over their heads, especially during this scary time. Okay, not subsidizing our summer vacations, right? Now, I don't begrudge you if this tax credit becomes a law and you take advantage of it. Heck, I might take advantage of it as well, okay? But I really don't think that's a huge priority right now. That's just my 2 cents. You can feel free to disagree. All right, small business owners out there, small business owners, sole proprietors, freelancers, solopreneurs, all you folks. Yesterday, the SBA opened up the EIDL application again, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, okay? Now, why most people are interested in this, because there's an aspect of free money here. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the EIDL Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance, okay? This would be $1,000 per employee in your business up to 10 employees, okay? And it's free money, you don't have to pay it back. The application for the EIDL takes like 5 minutes, okay? When you apply for the EIDL through the application, you are not only applying for the free money, the grant, right? But you're also applying for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan itself. You do not need to take the Economic Injury Disaster Loan in order to get the free money, the advance, okay? In March, I did a full walkthrough of the EIDL application. If YouTube's working correctly, there should be a link right above my head right now that you can click on to see that walkthrough. Now, some minor things have changed since then, since March when I made that walkthrough. Most notably, in March, we thought that if you apply for this, through this application, you would get $10,000 in your bank account within 3 days, okay? Reality is, you'll get $1,000 per employee up to a maximum of 10 employees within 3 or 4 weeks of when you apply. I think I got my EIDL advance 4 weeks after I applied in March, okay? But check out that walkthrough if you haven't applied yet. The application is open again. I'll put a link down in the description to the application as well. All right, so that's the EIDL. Now I have some good economic news. Retail sales increased from April to May 17%. This is more than double what economists were expecting, okay? Sales at clothing and accessory stores in particular rose by 188% after falling 75.2% in April, but are still 63% lower than in May. And it's kind of like the jobs thing, right? You got to remember, okay? Yeah, this number is great. Wow, 188% it rose, wow. But that's against the backdrop of an extremely steep decline, right? Trump tweeted this morning, he said, wow, May retail sales show biggest 1 month increase of all time, up 17.7%, far bigger than expected. Looks like a big day for the stock market and jobs. Wow. So you got to remember, it's kind of like when I try to lose weight, right? Let's say I've just been in quarantine, just been picking out, getting delivery pizzas all the time, and I gain a lot of weight, right? All right, now let's say I try to bounce back, get back in shape. Those first couple pounds I lose, they're gonna come off easy, right? I just gotta lay off the pizza and go exercise more and eat less, right? But what about losing the 5th pound, and the 10th pound, and the 15th pound, and the 20th pound, right? That's a lot harder to keep that momentum going the farther you go, right? Same thing with this economy. Yeah, we might have some big wins initially because we're bouncing back from an extremely terrible time. But keeping that momentum going in the long term, that's going to be trickier, I think. Okay, that's why Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said just this morning in his testimony before the Senate Banking Committee that we shouldn't overreact to the positive May retail sales numbers. He says the levels of output and unemployment remain far below their pre-pandemic levels, and significant uncertainty remains about the timing and strength of the recovery. He also said that direct support, cash money, cash payments, can make a critical difference, not just in helping families and businesses in a time of need, but also in limiting long-lasting damage to our economy. We know that Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is a big proponent of stimulus. It is the Senate who will likely be the stick in the mud. Kind of a similar thing with the police reform, right? There's like parallels between the police reform bills and the HEROES Act, right? Democrats asked for a lot in the HEROES Act. They passed it in the House. Senate says, we'll look at it. You know, we'll have serious talks about this when we get back from the July 4th recess, that last week of July. Same thing with the police reform, right? Democrats put forth this Justice and Policing Act. I expect it to pass the House soon, right? And now Republicans are saying, yeah, we're going to come up with our own bill, but we're going to, we're not going to actually vote on it until we get back from the July 4th recess, right? That last week of July, right? Kind of a similar thing. I don't know how I got on this right now, but let's get back to the Fed. So yesterday, what the Fed did is they opened up the Main Street Lending Program, okay, through the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Now, this is not the PPP. The PPP is for true small businesses, less than 500 employees. All right, I've talked about the PPP a lot here on the channel. What the Fed opened up yesterday is Main Street Lending Program. This is for this is for larger businesses. Okay, not huge corporations, but pretty large-scale enterprises. Okay. I haven't talked about this a lot on the channel because I know it doesn't apply to the vast majority of you. Okay, to be eligible for the Main Street Lending Program, you can have a maximum of 15,000 employees in your business, and your 2019 revenue can be no greater than $5 billion. Right? So these aren't the McDonald's and Walmarts of the country, but these are very substantial enterprises. Right? I mean, $5 billion in revenue, that's a lot of money. And if you are eligible for this Main Street Lending Program, I'm sure you probably have advisors who are advising you on it, and you don't need to listen to a CPA on YouTube tell you about it. But speaking of the PPP, right? The PPP, which I know a lot more of you are interested in, there's been some drama about the PPP lately. What's the drama? Drama is, well, first of all, lots of big companies. We talked about Ruth's Chris and Shake Shack here on the channel. They were able to slip through the cracks and get PPP money. PPP money is intended for small businesses because it's so great. Paycheck Protection Program is basically free money from the government for your business if you spend at least 60% of it on payroll. Okay? And it wasn't intended for big businesses, right? But big businesses, because they have these little subsidiary corporations that may have qualified through a loophole in the guidelines, they were able to somehow get this PPP money. Anyway, a lot of them had to give it back, right? But basically Democrats are saying, look, Secretary Mnuchin, you need to be more transparent with who got this PPP money, right? Who got it? How much did they get? Mnuchin's like, no, that's proprietary information. We do not want to tell you that. But yesterday, Mnuchin did say that he's open to having discussions with lawmakers on a bipartisan basis about oversight of loans under the Paycheck Protection Program. And I think that's overdue, right? This is our money. This is the taxpayers' money that is going out to these businesses, and I think we have a right to know who's getting it, right? This comes after Pelosi put out a statement where she said the American people expect full transparency to ensure that the CARES Act's historic investment of their taxpayer money is used wisely and effectively to save lives and livelihoods, not to be used by profiteers and price gougers. Also in stimulus news, apparently Trump wants to spend $1 trillion on infrastructure, okay? This would be traditional infrastructure like roads, bridges, things like that, but also kind of the modern infrastructure, rural broadband, 5G, stuff like that. Thinking is, look, rates are low right now, we can borrow, and we can spend money on upgrading our country, basically. Now, you know that Trump has been talking about infrastructure for a while. A couple years ago, he was pushing for $1.5 trillion in infrastructure spending, but you remember last May, he walked out of a meeting with Pelosi and Schumer about infrastructure because just before that meeting, Pelosi basically said that she thinks the president is a part of a cover-up, of course, referring to the Russia, how could I put this without sounding too political, the Russia controversy. Okay. Now, is this $1 trillion that the White House is supposedly thinking should go to infrastructure? Is that part of that $2 trillion that Peter Navarro hinted at last Friday? That's not clear to me. Okay, I don't know if this is, okay, if that $2 trillion Navarro was talking about, okay, if $1 trillion is going to go to this infrastructure thing, that's what the White House is thinking, and that only leaves the, $1 trillion for everything else. I'm not sure. But I do think it's interesting that when Navarro was talking about the $2 trillion, well, first of all, he said the bulk of it would be, on manufacturing. Okay. He didn't really say the bulk of it would be on infrastructure. And if 50% of that $2 trillion was, going to be allotted to infrastructure, at least according to the White House thinking at the time, you'd think he would have mentioned it. He didn't mention it. Also, yesterday, I played you the clip of Larry Kudlow, right, where he was kind of going over a few things that would be in the $2 trillion that the White House is supposedly thinking about right now. Prior to that, the Fox News specifically asked him about infrastructure. Okay, will infrastructure be in that $2 trillion? Larry Kudlow didn't specifically mention infrastructure, even though he was directly asked about it in terms of whether or not it would be in the $2 trillion. Of course, this is just kind of like some deducing and logic and stuff like that. It's not a clear answer, but what I'm saying is it's not clear to me at this time whether this $1 trillion that Trump wants for infrastructure is part of that $2 trillion or whether this is something else. Okay, that's my point. All right, so we're going to have to wait and see, right? I mean, this $2 trillion talk, this $1 trillion infrastructure, we haven't actually seen from the Republicans a bill yet, right? A bill laying out what they want to see in the next stimulus package. We haven't seen that yet, right? And we probably won't see that until next month. We know that the Senate won't be taking up this issue until after it gets back from the July 4th recess, okay? That is in the last week of July. Okay, senators do not appear to be open to canceling the July 4th recess, even though we are still very much in a crisis and a pandemic. So think what you will about our Senate right now. Anyway, that is my stimulus update for today. Just want to let you know that I made a video last week about this app that supposedly pays you for playing games on your phone. Yes, I spent an hour playing in this app, and I made a video about it, reviewing this app and telling you how much I made for playing games on my phone to see if it's legit or not. All right, so check out this video. Click down there on my face and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.